Okay, so this is what our website looks like at the moment. We have an iPhone, we have a trailer, we have a image gallery, we have a contact form. We're going to be embedding some 3D models now, and ones that you can interact with as well. Now, how we're going to do that, we're going to do an easy way, and then later on we might do a more advanced way using JavaScript. So at the moment we have been learning HTML and CSS. And I think it'll be really important for you guys to get a little bit of experience in JavaScript, and that will be helping you in terms of doing animations and also doing animations with videos on scroll and things like that. Today we're going to do something very, very easy, and it's using a website called Spline. So if you just Google the word Spline and click on the first link, it will take you to this really cool website that has 3D models that you can either import yourself or just get started with by using their own examples. And you'll actually find in one of the examples they have an iPhone, and you can basically click on it. You can log in via your Google account, and you can duplicate some of their sample projects and play around with things like animations, triggers, for example, interactions with your mouse and stuff like that. And then once you've actually created your animation with the 3D model, you can then embed that straight into your website. Now, this isn't going to be a tutorial on Spline. I'd like you to kind of dive into Spline on your own and see that. But what it is going to be is I've got a spline model already set up here with an iPhone with some background, and the settings are pretty simple. There's nothing too interactive, or there's no animations based on scroll or anything like that. It's just the 3D model that's in this workspace, and I've created a scene. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be exporting this scene, and what we'll be able to do is actually share this URL and embed it straight into our website. So I'm going to come back to this. So obviously you guys don't have a 3D model like this ready to go, but let me just show you some examples. And if I head over here, here's a few examples of some spline embedded 3D models. So here on the right side are some embedded models. And what you can actually do, you can actually see they slightly move when I move my mouse around, but I can also click on the models and move them around. So they're actually interactive. And here's another example down here, and you can move them around. Here's another example here, and this one, this particular spline 3D model has been animated so that as you scroll, it's moving. So now that I'm scrolling on my page, that 3D model is moving. Here's another one with orbit and zoom, and you can see that I can actually orbit around my character underneath, and I can also zoom in, so I can pinch to zoom. Oh, there you go. So that's pretty cool too. This is another really cool one where it's following my mouse. So that's really cool. And here's one where it's the 3D models are looking at my mouse. So there's heaps and heaps of different ones here. This is just a page where it's showing different examples of embedding 3D models into your web page. But the website is called Spline, and what I would get you guys to do is take some time and look up some YouTube tutorials and maybe look at doing some of those animations or cursor movements where you move your mouse over and interact with some of your 3D models. What I've done is I've imported a iPhone into Spline, and I just created a quick background, and this is my scene here. So we'll come back to Spline. Let's just quickly go back to your HTML and let's set up a new section. So we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. We're going to go just before your footer, and just before the footer, and we're going to create a div, and let's open the div up. Let's give it a class, and we'll name this section, let me think, well, model 3D. Okay, And we're going to put our 3D model in here. But before we do, let's actually set up the CSS for it. So let's go to our CSS page and let's scroll to the bottom of our CSS. We've got a lot of code there. And let's go .model 3D and let's open that up. And we're just going to specify how big we want this div area to be. So let's set a width, and we're going to say the width is going to be 100%. And let's set a height. Now the height, we're not going to specify pixel or anything like that. What we're going to do is we're going to say 100% of the viewport or the view height. So depending on if the person is viewing it on a mobile phone device, then the height is going to be different to a large laptop screen or something like that. Now, just so that we know that this div, we've coded it correctly, let's just give it a background color, and we'll just pick any color, doesn't really matter. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to save all, so save my CSS and my HTML document. Let's open up my index or refresh my website, and let's see if that div shows up at the bottom now. Okay, there it is. And you can see it takes up 100% of my screen height and 100% of the screen width, which is perfect. Now I'm going to basically drop my iPhone spline code straight inside this div. So let's go over to spline. I'm going to hit the export button, and there are different ways we can export it. I'm just going to go with the public URL, and they've got an embed code ready to go. So I can just click on embed code, and we can go over here and we can paste that embed code straight in. And there it is there. It's given an iframe with a URL, a little bit of settings here. And now I can save this, and let's go and refresh our website. And there it is. There's my iPhone. Okay. And I can actually interact with it as well. So I'm moving it around. I can zoom into it and zoom out. So there's my 3D scene that I created in Spline. And I've got an interactive 3D model that I can interact with. That's really, really cool. Now, I might not want it to be this big. Maybe I want it to just be here in a small area and stuff like that. So that's where I could go back to my div and just change some of these settings. So maybe the width, I don't want it to be 100%. Maybe I only want it to be 50%. And if I save that and refresh the page, there we go. It's on the left side now, and I've got this interactive 3D model, which is really, really cool. Okay, so that is Spline. Now, there are heaps of things you can do with Spline. And if I just jump back over, there are also these play settings that you can turn off interactivities or you can turn them on. And you can set limits to how much people can zoom in and zoom out on your 3D scenes. More so than that, you can also add in things like what we saw in these viewer examples, where people are able to move your 3D model in a particular way that you've customized based on scrolling. So here, as I scroll through this website, this 3D model is being interacted with. So you could make it so that when you scroll, maybe these ice cream paddle pop sticks turning around or something like that. So you can design that as well. Now, this is not going to be a tutorial on Spline. There are lots of tutorials that you could probably find on YouTube on Spline, but what I wanted to do was show you how you could embed it in to your project and create a really cool 3D model like this to go straight into your iPhone website. Now, the last part of today's tutorial is going to be adding in a second page. Everything we've done up until this point has been a one-page website that allows you to scroll with the navigation bar to different points on your website. What we want to do is create an actual new page. So I'm going to go over here to our folder where it says index.html. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy index.html and I'll paste it. So now I've got a copy of it. Now you don't have to do it this way. If you wanted to actually create a second page, you can just go to your Visual Studio and create a new file. Why I've actually just copied the HTML document and created a duplicate of it is the fact that I can, let's just call it second for now. This is the second page. The fact that I can keep the original coding, for example, the navigation bar and things like that. And also, if I wanted this second page to be linked to the original style sheet, well, all that coding is already in index.html. So if I just duplicate that, I don't have to write it in again or copy and paste it in there. So that's a good advantage of that. If, however, my second page was going to look a lot different to the original page or the home page, then I probably want to set up a new file and also a new CSS and link them. But in this case, I want the second page to look pretty much the same as the index page, and I want it to be linked to the style sheet. So now that I've just copied or duplicated it, I'm just going to open it in Visual Studio Code, and here is my second page. Now, obviously, I don't want the page to look identical. I want the navigation bar, so that should stay. But I don't want all of the information that was in there. So just the navigation bar. So everything else except the footer we can delete. So we'll keep the footer, we'll keep the navigation bar. So if I save this now and we open up our second page, yep. So we've got our nav bar still at the very top, and we have a footer and nothing in between. So that we'll put some stuff in there. And what we can do actually right now is just go to our second page, and just before our footer, let's create a new div, and we'll just call this div spacer, or we'll just call it space second page space, just for now. And there's nothing in there yet, but what we're going to do, we're going to go to your CSS and we're going to add some code for that. So dot second page space, and let's give it a height 100% of the view height, and let's go width equals 100%, and let's give it a background color. And it doesn't matter what color we give it, just so we can see that it's there and it's working. Let's save it and view it. Nope, that's not working. Let's see. I think I named it incorrectly. It's called second page space, sorry. Let's rename that CSS, second page space. There we go. Okay, let's save it now and refresh, and there we go. So we've got our space for us to drop anything we want in there. We could add in a second or third div as well if we really wanted to. So we could go back to our second page and we could add in a second, a third, a fourth, and we could just call this second page space 2, second page space 3, second page space 4. And if we go back to our CSS, we can just copy this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just number them accordingly. So that can be number 2, that can be number 3, that can be number 4, and we'll just make sure that we can differentiate them. So we'll change the color. So make that one blue. Let's make this one red. And that one can be yellow. Let's give that a go. Okay, let's save all and let's have a look. And there is the blue page, red page, and yellow section. So this is going to be our second page. Now, at the moment, our links, there's no link on the nav bar that will take us to this page. All the links here will try to go to a section within the home page. And because we're not on the home page, these links aren't working. So we'll have to fix that up. So what we can do first of all is go back to our index.html page and let's see if we can fix up our navbar there, and then we can easily just copy the new navbar to our second page. So if I just scroll up back to the top, here is our hyperlinks for our navbar, and we got iPhone section, that's our home button on the navbar. We've got iPhone section, which is the iPhone button, trailer, gallery, and contact. Now, we didn't create one for the 3D model. We could create one for the 3D model. But what we should do is maybe create one just for now for the second page. So let's do that. And this is going to second.html. And let's call it second page. Now let's save it, make sure that that's going to work. So if we go back to our index page, there's the second page there, and if I click on it, it does take me to the second page, which is great, but the home button doesn't take me back to home. Now the reason being is because what we did was to enable a link to go to a section within the same page, we use these hashtags and we use the name of the ID of that div. For example, this hyperlink here, when we click on home, it's going to take us to this div tag because we've got ID iPhone section. And that's what the hashtag is getting us to go to. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that that link takes us back to the home page, the index page, and to this section. So let's do that. Now, we want to make sure that when we click on the home button, that it is going to index.html, but we want it to also go to the section called iPhone section. So we're going to add the hashtag iPhone underscore section underneath that. And we'll do that for all of our links to make sure. So if we just copy index.html and we add that to the start of all of these, that'll ensure that it goes to index.html and then goes to that section that we've created an ID for called hashtag contact or hashtag gallery, etc. Now what we're going to do, we're going to copy this div navbar and we're going to go to our second page and let's replace the navbar there as well. So we're going to delete that one and put the new one in. So they should be identical now. Let's hit File, Save All, and let's go back and refresh our page. And we're on the second page, which is great. If I click on Home, it'll take me back home. If I click on second page, it'll take me to second page. If I click on trailer, it'll take me back to index.html, but scroll down to the trailer section. So let's try that, and there we go. Okay, so now our navbar is completely linked up with a second page, and we've got some scrolling. Now that is done, in the next tutorial, what we're going to be looking at is doing some parallax, doing some background images, and doing some really, really cool things with background images, viewports, and animations. But before then, for this week, what I'd like you to do is try to look into Spline, see if you can create some animations, look up some tutorials, and embed them into your website like we did on the homepage. Okay, let's see what you guys can come up with. And if you have any problems, make sure you send me an email. Okay.